someone pray for us, please?
You are in heaven. Hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. Thy will be on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses. Forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from all evil. For thy is the kingdom. For thy is the kingdom. For thy is the kingdom.
So today we're going to be a topic is taken from Luke 10:38 verse 42. Can you go on to the next slide, please? Can someone read for us, please?
As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. He had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet, listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that your sister's left me to do the work myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her.
Thanks. So can you go to the next slide, please? So what can we learn from the Bible text today about being an ambassador? Anyone?
What was the question?
What can we learn about being an ambassador from the Bible text?
We can learn that we must want to learn from Jesus to be an ambassador.
Yeah. Anyone else? If not, can you move on to the next slide? So the first thing there is in verse 38 is that we need to let Jesus into our lives. And we can see in verse 38 that Martha opened her home for Jesus. So if we want to be an ambassador for Christ, we need to be able to let Jesus into our lives. And then the next thing is that we need to be able to humble ourselves, and when we come before God, we need to be humble and we need to be able to sit at his feet like Mary did. Then verse 40, we should not be distracted by things or people around us. So what do you think can distract us from God? Anyone?
Money.
Money and entitlement.
Yeah.
Friends.
Yeah. Anything else? Does anyone have anything else to say? No? Okay. So next thing is that we shouldn't be overwhelmed by peer pressure. And we see this because Martha came to Mary and said, why aren't you helping me, when Mary was sitting at Jesus' feet? So we need to make sure that as ambassadors for Christ, that we don't let other people or people's opinions to drive us away from God. And then the last thing is that we need to focus on God. So in verse 41, Jesus said, Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. So that means that basically what it's saying here is that we shouldn't be overwhelmed by people's opinions, and that we need to focus on our relationship with God. Okay, can you go on to the next slide? So the next thing that we're going to discuss about is how important are choices in representing Christ. So does anyone have anything to say? Does anyone have anything to say or an answer to the question?
Choices are very important.
Pardon?
Our choices are very important
Yeah.
because if we take drugs, smoke, are alcoholic, we fornicate, those are all against Christ's teaching.
Yeah, I agree. Can you go to the next slide, please? So for the first thing, I said they're very important because, first of all, we're an example to other people. Okay, so I was saying that the choices we make, they're very important because we're an example to other people. So we need to make sure that as ambassadors for Christ, we need to make sure that we're representing Christ in everything that we do. So that can be in our speech, the way we talk, in our appearance, where we go, what we say, what we listen to. Like, we need to make sure that we're representing Christ in everything that we do. And also, we need to know that people, they're likely to look at what we do more than what we say. So we need to make sure that in everything that we do, we're representing God. And next slide, please. Next thing is, how can we ensure that we choose to do the right thing? Anyone have an answer to the question or something to say?
Always think the consequences of what you're doing before you do it. If you're about to maybe steal something or someone, think about it. You're stealing something, someone who already had it. How's that going to affect them?
Thank
So,
you.
We could choose to befriend good people that aren't teaching us wrong things and influencing on our lives.
Thank you.
So the first thing I said was that we have to evaluate our situation. And so that means that before we act in any situation, it means that we need to ask ourselves, what would Jesus do? So that is a good way of representing Jesus, because if we're in a difficult situation and we ask ourselves, what would Jesus do? We're most likely to follow a good example that we can use to sort out the situation. And then as well, we need to act with humility. So and make sure we do the right thing. We need to be humble. We don't need to draw attention to ourselves all the time, I guess. That's what it's trying to say. And we also have to submit ourselves to God. So that means that we should know that God's ways are greater than ours. And that we have to give up what we want, and we have to receive instructions from Him and do His commands. And that way we can ensure that we choose to do the right thing at all times. That's it, I guess.
Can you unmute yourself if you can, and can you please put your hands together for Essie and just clap for her for the fantastic job that she's done.